Hello, this is the first parable in the movement of counting the cost. So, welcome to Unboxed God, where we detox from religion and discover the God who refuses to fit inside the boxes we were given. I'm Tolu Sarah Johnson, and here we explore who God really is beyond fear, beyond formulas, and beyond everything we were taught to perform. If you're hungry for a real relationship with Him, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. So, this is currently on theme of preparing, which was a bonus theme that I decided to write on and reusing the parables I've spoken about originally in the book 1 to 7. So the next parable that we're going to touch up in the next movement is the unprepared builder. Decision replaces enthusiasm. Finishing matters more than starting. That's what this parable is all about. The journey of preparation has now crossed a threshold. Jesus has awakened the servant. He has taught them to stay ready while waiting. He has trained them to discern presence and timing. He has shown that preparation cannot be borrowed at the last moment. Now he confronts the next unavoidable truth. Awareness without decision collapses. Enthusiasm can wake you up. Expectations can keep you watching. But only choice can carry you through to the end. So Jesus moves preparation from posture to commitment. So, before we dive into this parable, let's quickly read the Bible verse, which is Luke 14, 28 to 30, which says, "Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, 'This person began to build and wasn't able to finish.'" This is the story of so many of us. We started this journey with God and we've given up. Some have deconstructed, some have become religious, some have disconnected totally. They are now atheists. Some don't go to church anymore. Everyone has just gone their way, whatever works for them. But Jesus is speaking to us through these parables. They're like the future prophecy of things that will happen. It says, but anyone who is willing to, anyone who wants to build a tower, won't you first sit down and count the cost? This one is the most counterintuitive instructions Jesus ever gives. We expect him to say, begin immediately. Instead, he says, pause. Not to discourage faith, but to protect it from collapse. Jesus is not interested in impulse obedience. He's interested in obedience that survives pressure. So preparation now requires honesty. Not do you want to follow, but have you decided what it will cost you to finish? So Jesus is encouraging us to pause and ask ourselves if we can finish. Starting is easy. Who will begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there is enough money to finish it? Everyone can start. Beginnings are energizing. Foundations are exciting. Momentum is intoxicating. But Jesus is not measuring beginnings. He is measuring endurance. Preparation is no longer about readiness for interruption. It is about readiness for long obedience. And that is what Jesus is saying here. Who will not plan? But when we look at our Christian journey, we don't look at it in that line. We don't think that we need to plan. Because Jesus is not essentially saying, stay there and start planning. What he's trying to communicate is who will not consider the reality of this journey that they've embarked on. Christianity is not a journey that you just tread carelessly. Your journey to eternity is not something that you just take with levity. It's something that you live consciously. You need to be intentional about it. It's talking about discipline, discipleship. Whatever you start, who is going to start that is not going to consider the impact, the cost that you would take? Because starting is easy, like I said, but finishing is costly. Praying the sinner's prayer is easy. Joining a church is easy. Getting emotional in worship is easy. Saying, Jesus, I give you my life is easy. Thanking him for the cross without taking responsibility is easy. But finishing is costly. Dying to self daily is costly. Putting God before comfort, money, reputation, and relationship is costly. Allowing the Holy Spirit to rearrange your priorities, habits, career, and plan is costly. So true discipleship always has a price. Even painful losses, seasons of separation, and deep surrender can be part of the cost. And sometimes God allowed things to be taken not as punishment, but as realignment so that destiny can unfold on both sides of eternity. So there's so many costs that needs to be paid in this journey. Because a lot of people are hoping to finish successfully without paying the cost. And the tragedy here is not failure. It is incompletion. Said, otherwise you might complete only the foundation before running out of money. A foundation without a building is not a progress either. It is exposure. So this is where enthusiasm dies. When sacrifice lasts longer than expected. When obedience costs more than imagined. When clarity demands consistency. Jesus is not warning unbelievers. He is warning followers who underestimate what faithfulness requires. Yes, a lot of us underestimate what the cross requires from us. And Jesus said something. He said, everyone would laugh at you. There is the person who started that building and couldn't afford to finish it. Interestingly, I've seen this a lot in Africa where people will start their house and for 20 years it's still in the state of incomplete. And people make fun of people. So this example that Jesus said here is actually, I've actually seen it. But this is not emulation for punishment's sake. It is exposure of assumption. The mockery comes not from hostility, but from visible inconsistency. What began with conviction ended in withdrawal. What started with readiness collapsed under cost. Preparation that avoids honest calculation produces unfinished lives. And that is how a lot of our journey has been with God. We start, but when things start getting tough, we come out. And Jesus is saying, my journey is not like that. It's not something that you deep in or deep out. It's either you are all in or you are all out. And a lot of Christians today, they've got one leg out, one leg in. And that's what Jesus calls lukewarm. They are not willing to count the cost. They are not willing to deny themselves. They are not willing to take up their cross daily. They are not willing to follow him. They just want to do their own will. And the sad thing is, you need to know, if you don't know, you are costing the Father every day. He's had to pay the cost each time. The cost of giving us free will is something he will pay throughout eternity. The cost Jesus paid, the cost that the Holy Spirit, they are all paying costs every day. And he has said it to me so many times, Tolu, I will not ask you to do something I have not already done. So he paid the price first. He sent his son first. So discipleship is not a one-sided sacrifice. It is on both sides. So are you willing for him to say, change that relationship? Are you willing for him to say, leave that habit? Are you willing for him to say, change that job? Are you willing for him to say, forgive that person? Because there is a cost to pay. And you need to sit down to say that, to think about it. Are you ready to pay the cost? And are you ready to continually pay the cost on a daily basis? Because Jesus has now advanced preparation again. Oh, sorry, let me rewind. Because this is a journey that will cost you forever. I just asked Father recently, I said, is it Father I asked? It was not Father. But I've asked Father in the past as well, where he tells me, Tolu, you will continue to pay costs throughout eternity. But it was Abel I asked recently. And Abel told me, he said, Tolu, you will continue to pay costs throughout your eternity. God will continue to test your love. He will continue to test your loyalty. He will continue to test your determination. So as we continue this journey, Jesus has now advanced preparation again, because awakening taught you to sleep. Awakening taught you not to sleep. Watching taught you to stay ready over time. Discernment taught you to move with timing. All taught you preparation must be internal and complete. Now counting the cost teaches you only deliberate decisions carries you to the end. And this is the shift from enthusiasm to resolve. So I want you to consider this analogy. The marathon runner. Imagine someone who signs up for a marathon. They love the idea. They buy the shoes. They post the announcement. The first weeks feel good, short runs, encouragement, energy, but they never calculated the cost. Early mornings, discomfort, month of discipline, running when motivation is gone. Race day arrived. At mile 10, enthusiasm is gone. At mile 15, quitting feels reasonable. At mile 20, only preparation remains. The marathon does not punish the unprepared runner. It reveals who trained to finish. And this is what Jesus is teaching us. That depending on how prepared you are, will determine who stays till the end. So the question this parable is asking, Jesus is no longer asking, are you awake? Are you watching? Do you recognize the moment? He now asks, have you decided to finish no matter what it costs? Or are you following on borrowed momentum, hoping endurance will appear later? That wouldn't work. Sincerely, it wouldn't work. You have to keep depending on Holy Spirit, keep depending on His grace on a day-by-day basis. Because finishing requires a decision made before the cost is fully felt. It's a decision you make right from the beginning. I've made that decision that I will never turn against Papa. I will continue to give him my best for the rest of my life. But this is a decision I have made, and I have experienced so many tough times. But I always remember my promise. I promised Papa that I will stay. So that has kept me going. A lot of us start marriage. The marriages that stands today are the ones that have decided right from the beginning that no matter what it takes, love does not give up. But you see a lot of people now, they abandon the marriage 1 year in, 2 years in, because they've not counted the cost, because they think marriage is fun, having children is fun. All of these things, you need to count the cost. But a lot of people just walk blindly into something and expect the journey to be easy and rosy. And that's what Jesus is telling you. Don't walk blindly into Christianity, because if you walk blindly in, you will walk out really fast, because you will be given a rude awakening, and that rude awakening of pain, of challenges, will crush you if you are not prepared. Because trust me, devil will always look for ways of frustrating you, and that is his job. You can't stop him. God said, I use Satan to teach my children, to whip them into order. So preparation deepens again. This parable does not remove grace. It removes illusion. Grace awakens you. Grace invites you. Grace gives time. But preparation requires consent. Consent to inconvenience. Consent to perseverance. Consent to a faith that costs more than emotion. Because a life that begins well but cannot finish was never truly prepared. And I will tell you, when I married my husband, I wasn't prepared that he was going to go home early. But when before he passed on, he told me, Tolu, promise me you will not remarry. And initially, I thought, oh, yes, that's fine. But after he passed on, I sat down. I calmed the course. And I reminded myself, at the beginning of this marriage, I said I will love him no matter what. And the fact that his changed location is gone to heaven doesn't mean that marriage has ended. For me, I am still married to my husband. The separation of location doesn't change that. That is what counting the cost will guide you, because there will be days, there will be times where you'll be tired of being a Christian or tired of following God. But those days, the promise you made earlier, the counting the cost, is what will carry you through those seasons. So why this parable belongs here? Jesus places the unprepared builder here because preparation has now become costly. Yes, so no longer theoretical, no longer internal, no longer shared. Preparation has become chosen endurance. And only those who can count the cost can build something that stands to the end. So, I hope you've been blessed by this parable. I will see you in the next chapter. God bless.